Welcome to another edition of Question and Answer with a Criminal Defense Attorney. I'm Mark Solomon, a defense attorney in Denver, Colorado, and today's question is about drug felony, Class 1, or special offenders. Before we get started, don't forget to click like on this video and subscribe with a little bell to be notified of future videos. Let's get to the question. So, what is a special offender, or a DF1, a drug felony Class 1? This is a very serious case. If you are charged with a first-class drug felony, or you've heard the word special offender, this is something you need to get an attorney involved. Not joking here. Let's look at the statutes. So, when we look at this, you can see that the sentencing is extremely harsh. If you are convicted of this DF1, you will be sentenced to a minimum of 8 years of prison, unless there are some aggravating factors, and then the mandatory minimum goes from 8 to 12 years. Let's read a little here. So in other words, here is the statute which requires the sentencing of prison, subsection 7 of the classification statute for drug felonies. Notwithstanding any provision to the contrary, if a defendant is convicted of a level 1 drug felony, the court shall sentence the defendant to a term of incarceration of at least 8 years, but not more than 32 years, if any of the aggravating circumstances provided in paragraph A of subsection 10, which we're going to get to in a second, it requires the court to sentence the defendant to a term of incarceration in the Department of Corrections of at least 12 years. So let's look at that. So if you were on parole, if you were on probation or on bond for another felony, if you were in prison at the time, if you were on an appeal bond having been convicted, probation or on bond, or awaiting sentence for another felony, or any other of the aggravating circumstances. Let's take a look at the special offender statute specifically. Now here you can see that any one of these things are going to be an aggravating circumstance and make you a special offender. Like, for example, when they find a pattern of manufacturing, or in the course of a conspiracy. The one that I see mostly is the use of a deadly weapon or possession of a deadly weapon in the course of the crime. So in other words, this technically could be as little as just possession of a small amount of a Schedule I substance like heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine with a gun could be prosecuted as a special offender. Okay. So with that, the short answer is 8 to 32 years prison, but it could be 12. So like I said in the beginning, this is something that if you're charged with a DF1, you need to get an attorney involved. Because if you can't negotiate some other thing, or you don't have a defense, then you will be looking at a minimum of 8 years prison. So that is the question and answer for today. If you would like to submit your own question, you can put it in the comments below, email it to me, or tag me on Twitter. And as always, you have a right to remain silent. If a police officer asks you what you have, where you've been, what you know, you have a right to say, I don't want to talk to you, and I want a lawyer.